Today we are diving deep into one of the strangest corners of the ancient world. We will look at bizarre rituals involving live birds, blood, and quarantines. It is a highly specific process someone had to go through just to be considered clean and rejoin their community. If you were really sick, but now you are healed, you'd think you could just go back to your life. In the ancient world, you had to prove you were okay through a deeply public, symbolic process. To understand this, we have to know what the word unclean meant. Being ceremonially unclean had almost nothing to do with being physically dirty. It was a temporary ritual status. It meant you were on the outside, out of sync with the sacred, and unable to join in community life. Leviticus 14 zooms in on a person who has recovered from a serious skin disease. The process to restore them was a formal journey. The first ceremony happens outside the camp. The priest takes 2 birds. One is killed, and its blood is mixed with fresh water. The living bird is dipped in that bloody water, sprinkled on the person, and then set free. It is an incredible visual of the live bird carrying the sickness and isolation off into the horizon. But the process isn't over. The person can finally enter the main camp, but they cannot go into their own home. They must wait outside their tent for another 7 days. During that week, they focus on personal cleansing, washing clothes, shaving off hair, and bathing. It is a mandatory final transition period, a time of incubation before they can be fully restored to normal life. On day 8, they go to the tabernacle. The details here are incredibly specific. The priest takes blood from an offering and dabs it on the person's right earlobe, right thumb, and right big toe. He is purifying what they hear, the work of their hands, and the path they walk. Then he does the exact same thing with oil, a symbol of blessing. Only after all of this is done can the priest make the official announcement. Here is something fantastic. The law had a built-in provision for people who weren't wealthy. The standard requirement involved 3 lambs, but if you couldn't afford that, you could bring 1 lamb and a couple of birds instead. The system ensured that the path back into the community was open to absolutely everyone, regardless of their economic status. Restoration was designed to be accessible. Now, what happened when the problem wasn't you, but the very walls of your house? The process is surprisingly methodical. The priest acts as an official inspector. He identifies greenish or reddish streaks of mildew and puts the house under a 7-day quarantine. If the mildew spreads, he must tear out infected stones and scrape the walls. But if the mildew comes back after renovations, the judgment is final. The house is torn down completely. We have these 2 very different situations, a person and a house. But when you look closer, a shared logic emerges. If a house is successfully repaired and saved, it is declared clean using the exact same ritual kit as the person. They use the 2 birds, the cedar wood, the yarn, and a hyssop. The ceremony is identical, right down to setting the live bird free outside the town. This leads to the most important question: why go through all this trouble? The ultimate goal was never just about being clean. It was about restoration. These rituals created a real, visible, step-by-step pathway to bring someone back into the life of the community. It always ended with an official, public declaration from the priest. It meant the separation was over, the person was welcome, and they belonged. This is a fascinating ancient system for defining boundaries and belonging. It leaves us with a big question to chew on today. What are the rules, both the written ones and, more importantly, the unwritten ones, that determine who is in, who is out, and who is allowed to belong in our own communities today? Take a moment, breathe, and let them sink in.